Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pod TV's #1 do-it-yourself advocate TV show, Timeshare Solutions or Surrender with Irene Parker, who is providing us tons and tons of solutions to some of the most deceptive acts and predatory lending of our time, and that is related to timeshares. Now, I'm not saying all timeshares are bad in doing this, but what we are trying to do is provide solutions for the ones who are. And so what I'd like to do is welcome Irene to the stage and congratulate her on the 32nd episode here today on September 30th of 2024. Here you are, 32 shows.
I know, and when we first started, I was worried about filling up an entire hour. I'm like, that's an eternity, and now it's like I don't know if we're going to have time to talk to cover everything that we want to cover. So, Kimberly, I'm going to get right to it, and I would like to first bring on to the show Miriam, who is in Canada. Okay, Miriam, hi, thank you for joining us today. And they say that, I read some of these Facebook posts where they say that, we're all a bunch of dummies that don't know how to use our timeshare. And Miriam, I think you told me the other day that you speak 5 languages and worked as a stockbroker in Zurich.
That was way back when. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks.
So I feel even more foolish, perhaps you might say, to have both this timeshare and be in a bit of a messy situation now.
Well, let me introduce your co-guest, and this is Susan, and you're both Canadian residents.
Yes.
Although, Susan, you don't sound exactly like a Canadian.
Oh, I'm definitely a Canadian.
Okay, but I do want to address. You hear this? I feel so stupid, and I almost every show I try to promote AARP Doug Shadell's book, the Outsmarting the Scam Artist, where no one is smart enough to outsmart a scam artist. And there was nothing reading your contract in 2004 that could have helped you with what happened with your timeshare with the Manhattan Club. So with that, I'm going to add to our show Ruben. And the reason I specifically asked Ruben is the Manhattan Club, and the timeshare that Ruben purchased from is Fantasy, which the parent company is Flagship. And both of those developers admitted fraud, which is very unusual. We had someone that recorded fraud, and the developer said, we will cancel your loan without admitting liability. So this was, good support if you're needing to default or to have that look, hey, here's proof that they defrauded us. And then what we like to do at the beginning of this show is to catch up on what happened in the last week. So I'm going to start off by introducing Norma in California, and she's heard a little bit more about her situation in this past week. And Tracy has been a prior guest on our show, and she was able to speak with Westgate this week. It didn't do any good, and we want to offer the next step to both Norma and Tracy in their dispute process. And last but not least, we have our military family. Now, Norma's husband is a Vietnam veteran. And Gabby, thank you for joining us today. You are a Hungarian Army veteran, correct? Can you hear us? Yeah. And your husband is in the Army National Guard.
Yes.
Now, just in the last week, and I'm happy to have all of you on to hear all of this and comment. But there's more than 10 people that reached out in a week. Now, these big exit companies get 3,000 callers a week. And we get, if we get 12 or 14, we feel like we're overloaded because we don't have search engines, we don't have an ad budget. Timeshare and Developer Resort Accountability is a nonprofit. We're all volunteers. So just in the last week, we had someone defaulting on a capital vacation loan. And the chairman of the consumer arm of the timeshare industry lobby, the American Resort Development Association, ARDA, he is a consultant for capital vacations. This person was struggling to pay her loan payments. And she attended a presentation, and they said, well, if you buy 15,000 in additional points, you will be eligible for Capital Vacations Graceful Exit Program. So all that did was make a bad situation worse and force default. The money's just not there. Now, Norma, she owes Wyndham $4,300 a month, and members supporting members is a powerful tool. And I mentioned to Tracy that when I first talked to her, and she sounded so desperate, when we talked right before the show began, she sounds so much more empowered. So I had someone call from California, where Norma lives, and she owes Diamond Resorts $5,000 a month. And so we were able to introduce the two of them. Now, we have someone that's contemplating a capital vacations default. I knew that her report, when she asked me to read it, was not a strong complaint, but their complaint was they were not told it was a timeshare. Then there was someone that is defaulting on Westgate Resorts, another person, Tracy, and they were told that it was real estate and it would appreciate. Number 5 is Soleil Management, and this was a Canadian as well, and both the parents have debilitating, I mean, we're talking end of life problems, and Soleil will not take a timeshare back for any reason, and there is no resale value. Then there is what I call the ping pong upsell, where they started out with Hawaii Diamond Resorts points, and then they went to Cabo. Diamond sells their points in collections, the Cabo collection, the Hawaii collection, the US collection. So they go to Cabo and they say, oh, if you switch your Hawaii points to Cabo, your maintenance fees will go down. So they did, and they did go down. But then they went to Florida and they were told, oh, if you don't buy US collection, this is causing all kind of problems. You should have never switched to Cabo and from Hawaii to Cabo. So they're now in default. The other is Holiday Inn Club Vacation. This person is a teacher and they have 2 special needs kids, and they cannot travel out of state because of their needs. And they were assured by Holiday Inn that there were resorts nearby that they could drive to, and there are none. Then we had someone defaulting on a Mexico timeshare, and then someone reported that the Hilton Grand Vacation offered to settle for half the loan amount, which, maybe that's something that they can do. And then the last person was diagnosed with cancer, and they purchased their timeshare the last week of July, and they were diagnosed the next month with cancer. They've already had 1 surgery last week, and they're scheduled for another surgery, and they are not being allowed an exit. So one of the things we want to do is bring together, and one more story I'm going to talk about here, because this person recorded their presentation in Florida. Now, Florida is a 2-party state, and you must get the permission of both parties. So this was not, Kim Calhoun can talk about it more later on in the show, but here they were struggling, and they said, oh, you only bought half the package, so that's why your maintenance fees are so high. And if you buy the other half, your maintenance fees will drop by half. That's a complete lie. And this was at Mystic Dunes in Diamond, and it was a Hispanic agent. And then they called the manager, and the manager explained that this was a today only offer. Now that I've shared what our volunteers hear day after day after day, I'm going to start with, first of all, we have, as I said, Miriam and Susan that are one of 200 plaintiffs filed against the Manhattan Club, a lawsuit that received a negative ruling for the plaintiffs, and now they're filing another motion to reconsider. And we have Ruben with Fantasy, but before we start with them, I'd like to start with Tracy. And Tracy, tell us what your interaction that you've had with Westgate just in this past week. Tracy, can you hear us? Tracy?
Sorry, I was muted. I was talking, I was muted. So yeah, I haven't had, I stopped paying briefly. I stopped paying Westgate in May of this year, and I have had no communication from them whatsoever. They did hit my credit report deeply, but no phone calls, no emails, no anything until this past week. A few days ago, I received my first phone call from them asking if they can help me get caught up on my past due payments. And I said, no, absolutely not. I wasn't going to be getting caught up on my past due payments, and I wasn't going to be making any further payments. Reason being was because, I fell on to some hard times, and I feel that I was scammed by Westgate to buy into this and didn't realize anything until I started looking into it after it was too late to rescind. And after I was turned down by my bank for getting a mortgage loan, what they called it, a go home and get a mortgage loan from your bank to get lower interest and then pay us off, and then basically do what everybody else was told to do, rent it to pay for your maintenance fees, rent it out, make some money. The cost will be way less. So she tried to ask me if I reached out to their hardship department to file like a hardship claim, and that was basically just to see if I can get my payments lowered or help in the meantime. And I said, I don't want to get my payments lowered because I'm looking to get out of this completely. Regardless of if you get your mortgage payments lowered, your maintenance fees are still not going to go down. They're still not going to get better, and you're still going to be under obligations to pay for this for the rest of your life, and you're not gaining anything from it. An investment is something that makes you money, not costs you money. So there's no investment in the future for me. And I said, I needed to get out of this. And the lady I spoke with was just somebody that was trying to collect past due payment. She wasn't going to help me get out of anything. So from there on, I ended the call. She wanted to update the information, and I said, no, I wasn't going to update anything with her moving forward. So.
And what we're trying to get, the message we're trying to get across is they talk a lot about we want to protect our owners from these fraudulent exit companies. I've always said half of a problem goes away when it's confronted. And what we're trying to do is convince the developers that if they would work with us instead of it having to be, us or them, that they acknowledge that their agents are lying. And is it really okay? Is it really okay with them that they lie? And that's okay because of the oral representation clause that's buried in 80 pages of fine print. No. So speaking of exit companies, Gabby, tell us about your defaulting on Hilton Grand Vacations. Same thing. They wanted to, I think, send you to hardship. Your husband, you're a Hungarian. This is a very international show today because we have Miriam in Canada that is from Belgium. We have Ruben from Puerto Rico, and we have Gabby who's from Hungary. So this is our international show today. And Gabby's husband is stationed in Saudi Arabia. So there wasn't a whole lot of deception in their purchase, except they were told, oh, you have a couple kids, you need a 2-bedroom instead of 1 bedroom. But Hilton Grand Vacations offered you no help. Tell us about the exit scam that called you, Gabby.
So lately, they started calling me, and it's all of them from Florida. So it's not just one company. They telling me I have a Hilton Grand Vacation timeshare, and they wanted to help me to sell it, and they already have a plan on my timeshare to how they gonna proceed. And when I'm telling them to, hey, okay, but I'm not gonna pay you for this, then they getting aggressive with me to, why do you want me to pay for work for you for free? And because I didn't ask you to call me, because I thought so I cannot sell my timeshare until I owe money on there. And then they getting more angry, and because they cannot get money out of me, and so usually they just hang up.
Yeah. And how is your husband doing in Saudi Arabia? How are the kids doing with dad away?
My kids have a very hard time. So right now, they want to be more than 24/7, which is really hard. My husband is okay because we were able to send them on first package. First, they told them they're not gonna be mailing there, so he's very excited to getting his first package from us. And it's
And you
gonna be
were,
his birthday, so we sent him like a birthday card too.
oh, and so happy birthday from all of us here. You can send him the link on this to let him know we're trying to help him out over here too. And you also cared for your mother last year. She was living with you and she passed away.
Yes, so it's why I asked Hilton Grand Vacation for help, because so my mother lived with me, and unfortunately we find out she has cancer, and it was already like very metastatic. So we couldn't take her home. Um, they couldn't have her here, and I called Hilton Grand Vacation, and what it was weird, first who I talked to, she said, no, we do not having for military people, we do not have military discount, we do not have nothing for military. And then when I started complaining more and more and sending emails, and I find you, then all of a sudden they come up with the idea to, no, I don't know who you talked to, but yeah, we do having for military. And it was just really hard to believe. And they were asking me, like, through emails, to send his order, send his order. I'm not going to send you his order. I don't trust you. First you said you have, now you haven't, now you have. So what is the true? Like, I really want to talk to someone who is like, the face of the company, and they couldn't do nothing for it. So
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. You know, our prayers are with your safety for your husband. And so we've talked about Tracy's next step, to write to Westgate and find out, is it that you don't care that your sales agent lied to me, or because of the oral representation clause, or do you not believe me? But she didn't even address the fact that you were told to go to the bank and refinance. Now, Norma, you have had, I believe you're speaking with someone at Wyndham, Brianna, and I introduced you to another California resident, and there is a a couple lawmakers in California. One former timeshare executive introduced us to one lawmaker, and I think your situations are so tragic. And the person that you spoke with, they owe Diamond Resorts $5,000 a month. And you owe Wyndham $4,300 a month. And people will say, how did you not know that you were spending that much money? And the person that owes $5,000, I've probably spent 2 to 3 hours on the phone with her just trying to find her paperwork, because we're self-advocacy. We don't review your contracts. We're not lawyers. And there's value to you going through your contracts and understanding the process. So how would you answer that question? How would you not know at your husband at age 80, nearing retirement, that you would owe $4,300 a month?
Well, it transpired over many years, renewing loans and assessment fees and so forth, and also the dues that just keep accruing and getting larger all the time. When we were in New York, we were just kind of told that we needed Wyndham points when we were WorldMark owners. We didn't have Wyndham points. So we were told that we would not be able to use Club Pass unless we purchased Wyndham points, which was not true. And so
and why was Club Pass so important to you?
Because we could not go to certain destinations without Club Pass.
And you've used it for a long time in the past.
We had, yes.
And that is how, if you are a WorldMark owner, because WorldMark existed before Wyndham bought them, and that is how a WorldMark owner can book Wyndham properties, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Now, your next step, what we were talking about earlier before the show, is that you're dealing with Brianna, and Brianna at Wyndham said, we need to listen to the recorded closing.
She was asking for that, yes.
Yeah, well, you need to write to her, and we'll send her this link. Hopefully they may watch it, they may not. But what good is that going to do you? Because when you signed those papers, you had no reason not to believe that person in New York that said you were going to lose Club Pass. And then you went to California and you were informed by a WorldMark sales agent, one of Wyndham's own employees, that was a lie. Why is she not picking up the phone and talking to that WorldMark sales agent that would confirm this?
I would like to know that answer myself, yes.
Okay, so your homework is to compose something and ask her that very question. Why are you not talking to that California agent that would offer a form of proof? If you can't believe your own sales agent, that you would have never bought additional credits.
That is correct.
Yeah, now we welcome you. If I know, Tracy, you're recovering from a medical procedure, so feel free to stay with us. Gabby, if you're at work and need to drop off, go ahead and drop off. But I'd like to now start, let's start with Ruben, because he purchased from Flagstaff Fantasy. And before we have you begin, I just want to thank you from the depths of my heart, because I try not to take calls at night because I have timeshare nightmares. But it was about 10 o'clock at night, and this person just sounded so sad. I went ahead and called her, and Hispanic, and we were having trouble communicating. And so we just happened to talk to Ruben, and he was able to translate. And she has been scammed out of $10,000 by an exit company. She was trying to be released from Diamond Resorts. And so Ruben kind of got roped into being drafted into being one of our volunteers overnight. But Fantasy, they were ordered to pay over $1 million to their owners. and they were their attorneys were awarded over $700,000 as a reward for taking on a risky case. So let us know, Ruben, how you first became involved with fantasy, and what was your experience? How, did you use it, and where are you at with it right now?
Okay, yeah. Hi. So back in 2011, somewhere around summer, uh, I went with a friend to Atlantic City, right? And that is where Fantasy is located. Uh, and yeah, we went to the sale page, and yeah, I decided to buy it. It was around $12,000. Then after that, well, like always in the presentation, they tell you that you can sell it, and if you don't use it, or they keep the value. So, but then with the years, I saw that that wasn't happening, and I only use it from 2011 to 2000, before the pandemic, 2020. I used it twice, right? And I was paying my fees every year, and I'm like, yeah, this is too much money. So I went and pay off the mortgage, and told them, yeah, like I'm not using it again. Like I'm going to return it to you guys. They don't have like a like when they decide to buy it back, they don't have a back buy program. They don't do that. So it was a problem for a few years from 2021. Uh, and the maintenance fee, they keep getting bigger and bigger, and they send me to a collection company. I show the collection company what was going on. They say, yeah, you don't owe us anything. The collection company said that I don't owe you, that I don't owe them anything. That the credit report, they are going to call the three credit report companies to tell them that they don't have anything against me, and then I have to deal with Flagship directly. I haven't heard back from Flagship after that letter that I got from the collection company. So they tell me no news is good news, right? So I'm like, okay, well, that might mean that they don't want to deal with me. So yeah, but after hearing all the stories from today and from past episodes, I keep saying my life is perfect. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, and yeah, defaulting on a loan and defaulting on maintenance fees is a very, very different situation. And yet, people that have paid their bills their whole life long still find it terrifying, even if you're defaulting on maintenance fees. And as we say in America, maybe worldwide, the only thing you can count on is dying and paying taxes. So we never say never, but it's very unusual to have any kind of serious, based on following about a couple thousand outcomes. And we have a support Facebook groups that they're kind of like default support Facebook groups for people that are left with no choice. Now, with the Manhattan Club, we have an extraordinary history with the Manhattan Club, because I was reading on my phone that the developer of the Manhattan Club, let me get this back here, worked as an assistant attorney general. And he has a Juris Doctor. He's a lawyer from the University of Cincinnati. He took a job with the district attorney, Frank Hogan, and then as assistant district attorney in Brooklyn with Eugene Gold from 1971 to 1975. Bruce Eichner worked for the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services. And this is the developer along with, I believe, Scott Lager, that purposely kept maintenance fees low in the early years, $600. And Miriam, I think you said they've increased to over 3,000, and that they admitted that they oversold. And, you know, I always warn people, don't watch this before going to bed at night. You sent me that interview with him in South Florida a month ago, where he is happily developing $1 million condos. And they even reference that he developed the Manhattan Club, like that should be on his resume. So take us to how, I mean, you go way back to 2004, and how soon did you discover that there was a problem with booking, and that people that didn't own could book cheaper than people that own?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a very attractive situation to be able to go to New York on a regular basis. So we had some friends and relatives who had purchased at the Manhattan Club early in 2000. And my husband and I decided to have just a week, so we could share it between 3 days and 4 days since 2006, actually. That's when we bought. And during the sales presentation, I was feeling very uncomfortable. I could see that it was not quite legitimate what they were saying. First of all, yes, they said that it would increase in value, that it can be passed on to our sons and daughters, and that's a good investment, and everybody in New York would want to have a piece of New York, etc. I mean, I didn't have to be convinced to come to New York because I love it. So we did that for many years. We bought in 2006. But as the years went by, first of all, immediately, we bought it for 32,000 US dollars, not Canadian, unfortunately, and immediately realized that, I mean, we had to go twice over weekends, and for that you had to pay extra. So we always had a weekend of 3 days or 4 days from Toronto, where we live, to go to New York. It was becoming more and more difficult to get the dates we wanted. That's how that started. Then the condo fees were getting every year higher. And if I calculated, we paid $32,000 to have that miserable week a year. On top of that, paying practically the equivalent of $400 a night to have that, it made absolutely no sense. And of course, many people, because we have 14,500, I think, owners at the Manhattan Club, only 200 are in the suit that we are pursuing with a lawyer. They all had the same experience. They all decided that it was not the way it had been presented, what they were offered, that they could actually book at the Manhattan Club cheaper on the cheaper rate with booking.com than directly as an owner. So, there was more and more disgruntled people, and we formed a forum on the Facebook for that. And people join and express their displeasure, and what can we do? Now, we did have a very convincing salesperson, and we fell into every trap. I don't know. You sent this video of, I think it's John Oliver, about timeshare. That was so excellent, because it's exactly how it is, word for word and joke for joke, nearly. So we actually decided that we had to do something about it. We joined that group that we're with now, but there were several other lawsuits over the years. So I bought in 2006, and in 2019 we decided we would stop paying for the fees that were exorbitant. And
well, let's back up to 2014.
Yes.
So in 2014, the New York Attorney General launched an undercover investigation of the Manhattan Club. Now, one of the problems with the lawsuit that's being filed today is that in the settlement with the New York Attorney General, it states that what they discovered cannot be used in subsequent lawsuits, which makes it very difficult. Now, when did you first learn of the New York Attorney General investigation? Did you file a complaint with the New York Attorney General, and did you hear back?
Yes, I did send, it was Mr. Schneiderman at the time. I did send letters to that Attorney General of New York, and also to Albany, New York, to the governor, Cuomo, right, at the time. And
Yes. What a pair, because Schneiderman was a pervert that resigned in disgrace, and Cuomo, look
yeah,
what we're.
I'm not so surprised about all these things, because it seems to be, the thing of today, to be dishonest. I mean, it's really dishonesty, how they have acted. By the way, I did meet the elegant salesperson that had convinced us a few times while I was at the Manhattan Club, and I would ask him, "You remember you said it would increase in value, and I think that I would like to sell it at this time. Can you told me that I had to first sell it through you?" And he said, "Well, we wouldn't want it." I said, "Well, how can you can't sell it?" I said, "How can that be? It's dishonest." And he said simply, "That's business for you, dear." Something like that. So I guess I was fooled, but we did not participate actively in one of the lawsuits or group lawsuit. I call it a class action suit, but you said a mass suit, whatever.
Mass action. But did you file a complaint with the New York Attorney General?
Yes, I did, and that's how. And also Better Business Bureau. I made several presentations, and they did acknowledge it. Out of that, I think we did get this $70 refund check from the first settlement. That's all we got. I did receive some acknowledgement. We acknowledge receipt of your letter of so and so, and that's about it. From Cuomo and from the office and from the Attorney General.
And were you offered, I heard that quite a few people were offered the ability to deed back their Manhattan Club week for $100.
Yes, at one point, and that was actually not too long ago that it seems to have stopped. I think that's when Blue Green Board, and it's a bit vague what's happening. I don't know all the details, but a number of people were sent an offer to give up their ownership and also their liabilities, which is the most important thing, by returning the timeshare to the Manhattan Club, and out of that they would receive $100 compensation, $100 for 30
You paid $32,000,
over the
and they will take it back in exchange for
100.
$100.
Yeah.
And I've heard that has dropped to $1.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That 100 was generous, because now it's $1 and nothing. So now you don't have that offer anymore. They simply don't have that offer, and I think that they have stopped sending me collection invoices from an agency since I've joined the group with Zimmerman. That's
Okay, right. And one thing that complicated the attorney's name is Jean-Marc Zimmerman.
yeah.
And I don't remember the year he filed with, now it's up to 200 plaintiffs, but he has left his own firm, and now he is a partner with
Lukowski and Brookman.
Lukowski and Brookman.
Mhm.
And so it took 2 years for the New York court to rule against the Zimmerman lawsuit. And so now what they have a filing in April of 2024, a reply memorandum of law in support of plaintiff's motion under federal civil procedure 60B. So that's kind of a lot of legal gobbledygook to me, but it sounds like they're asking to reconsider. And we recently had we had attorney Howard Prosnitz that sued Wyndham. It's the Kirchner versus Wyndham, and he too received he received a favorable ruling. But then we attended oral arguments, Kim and I, and a few other people in Delaware, and the courts dismissed his motion to certify class. So one of the problems with a class action lawsuit, I'm told, is that all damages or all liabilities are not uniform. So some people were told they could refinance, some people could told they rent, some people could tell. So it's difficult, but we do. I reviewed the engagement letter with the new firm, and I contacted Mr. Zimmerman, and he said he would be sending an email to all of the plaintiffs, because the way the letter read, it sounded like you initially each paid, was it $1,250 to join the lawsuit?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's what we paid.
I paid a bit more because I joined a bit later, so I paid 2,000.
You paid 2,000. And Susan, go ahead and tell us how you got started with the Manhattan Club and when you started realizing that Mr. Eigner, as he has admitted, committed fraud.
Well, I bought a week at the Manhattan Club when the Manhattan Club was brand new, and it was a resale actually. We were one of the first 10 contracts. Somebody had purchased, and then his wife got ill, and we were going to New York, and we have 3 kids, and it seemed like a great way to go. Um, Less expensive than what we had to. We had to take 2 hotel rooms, and that was becoming too expensive. So we did this resale, which was actually very a good price, and it worked well. And the Manhattan Club did away with the options for resale very, very quickly. So
what did you pay for it on resale?
I think we might have paid
12,000 instead of 32,000 for a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom.
That was 6 or 7 years before Miriam bought it, and we bought another week just directly from the Manhattan Club, also for around the same price. Just about 8 months later, no weekends were allowed, and it was also very, very low fees, like $600. And with all kinds of promises of this being such a wonderful arrangement, and how everybody would like it. Everything that Miriam said was the same for me. And I also wrote lots of letters and got wonderful letters back from Letitia James's office and all kinds of people. And the only way that we were able to a reservation was because we befriended one of the employees in the reservations office, because if we went through the standard reservation procedure, we could never get a reservation. So we had to actually go through someone who we just contacted personally, and once in a while we were able to get a booking. But I wanted to just mention that the way the Manhattan Club behaved during COVID was very, very typical of how they were and how they are right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't even cross the border from Canada. The borders were closed. We couldn't get to the Manhattan Club. They were not willing to give us anything, absolutely anything.
Absolutely, that's true.
So basically, you pay your fees. It's not like they said, okay, well, because you can't come because the borders are closed, we'll cancel the fees for this year. None of that.
Well, you can't do that because I agree that they don't have the same fees if they're not as occupied, but they still have some ongoing expenses.
Yeah, but they didn't reduce them or anything. It was just the same
right.
amount. Yeah. So there was nothing done.
And when did you join the Zimmerman lawsuit?
It was probably 2021, I'm thinking, but it could have even been 2020. 3 or 4 years now, just waiting for absolutely nothing that happened.
And is that when you stopped paying your maintenance fees?
We only stopped paying for one of the weeks. We used the other week. Yes, and it was mostly because it was recommended that we do it that way if we're part of the lawsuit. Because if we, anyway, that's what we did.
Well, and another article you don't want to read before going to bed at night, and we've asked people to reach out to the editor of my journal Courier in Jacksonville, Florida, is the ARDA, the Timeshare Industry Lobby. They must be behind this article where she said, quite simply, a timeshare holds its value, unlike Airbnb. And what if you, how do you feel when your hotel prices are going up and up and you're wishing you had bought a timeshare? Oh my gosh, it's, so we will send the link to this interview, hoping we can get a correction because, and then I wrote an article. If you go to tarta.org, and we have them categorized. So under expert, we had Kim's sister Kelly on last week, who was instrumental in, she's a loan provider in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. But if a credit score is in the way of your loan, she sounds like she really goes to bat for people, Kimberly.
Oh, she does 100%. I've seen her help people that the lending industry said that they were completely helpless and there's no way they would ever get a loan. My sister goes to bat for so many people. She's been to bat for widows who couldn't get loans because they don't generate enough revenue, which they're the ones who need the help the most. To or they did generate enough revenue, but their credit score dropped because their husband died. I mean, there's just so many stupid things that exist out there. But she does. I mean, I am bragging on my baby sister, but I I see her accomplish so much for victims of abuse of the credit score industry. Um, and she's going to be starting her own show because of you, Irene. I mean,
Oh
she
my
and I
gosh.
for almost a year now. And now she's like, wow, I really am ready to do that show. So you've really kind of lit the fire under her because she has, she helped me with my situation. And, I just want to say that what we need to be doing here, hopefully, is uniting this crowd of people who've been victimized and go to the legal system, go to our government and say this needs to be fixed. Because Irene, I agree with you. There is no gained value or property value in timeshares, none whatsoever. And
Well,
anyone
there are in Marriott and some Hilton and Disney. Disney holds its value quite well. Not all Marriotts. We had, speaking of Marriott,
but I
someone
want to
called.
ask, is there a difference between holding their value and gaining value? Wouldn't there be a difference in that? I
No,
mean, I
it's just, instead of having to pay like Westgate, you have to pay Westgate $2,500 to take it back. At least with Hilton, you might get 2,000. Aruba with Marriott, 11,000 or more. I've seen some Barbados Hilton that have up to 24,000. Now, just because it's listed at that, but I would like to talk a minute about the difference between the provinces of Canada.
right.
So, Susan, are you Quebec?
Yeah.
And Miriam, are you Quebec?
Ontario.
You're Ontario. Okay, good. We've got both sides. So in 2000, if you go to my personal Facebook, my banner is a picture of 1,000 people standing outside of a building. And the Wyndham Carriage Hills and Carriage Ridge people, owners, did a GoFundMe so I could actually go to their annual meetings because they would not allow an exit under any circumstance. This was in 2019. Now, the month before, I attended a Florida legislative workshop, and I heard the current president of ARDA, Jason Gamble, testify. All resorts, Wyndham has a hardship policy. And I heard the ARDA ROC chairman, Kenneth McKelvey, say, all resorts have a dissolution program. Every single one. I've been in the business 30 years. Someone from Wyndham, but they didn't add except for 4,000 Canadians, where someone was in a nursing home and his entire pension was paying for the nursing home and they would not be released. And so what happened, and we have Karen Levins as a guest next Monday to explain how the Canadians organized. not only did they organize in Ontario and force the sale of both resorts, put everybody out of their misery, they are no longer timeshare, but they still have a Facebook group. You know, they had BDO Dunwoody, I believe, was the receivership people. Now, in Quebec, they organized, I think each owner paid $200 or something, and they retained an attorney, and they changed the law in Quebec to redefine a timeshare as a service agreement with liberal reasons to cancel, which was a polar opposite of Ontario, that, you know, you couldn't cancel for any reason. So I just was so impressed with how organized they were. Now we have Jeremy from Destination Timeshare, that says even Disney Vacation Club loses value as soon as you buy it. You may get most of what you pay to buy it for if you own it long enough for far better than those timeshares that lose 100% of their value the next day. Yeah, and so where we go from here is someone posted on Facebook, we need to all write to our state representative. Now, talk is cheap, so there's nothing wrong with posting that. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but what you need is you need an organization of someone tracking who's writing to what congressman, because we had Tom, who Norma I've introduced to, I believe, that had something like 600,000 Wyndham points, which is a lot. And now he has over 1.4 million because he was told to buy points to rent, and his Wyndham sales agent gave him the name of someone to help him do that, and it worked. And then he received a cease and desist letter accusing him of commercial activity. So just like you, Norma, where he's been a Wyndham owner for 20 years and now is considering default. He reached out to State Representative Tom Leake in Florida, in Ormond Beach area, and the response from Mr. Leake's office was, oh, it's fine now because they amended the Timeshare Act and it states that the sales agents cannot misrepresent the product. And again, there's this insanity. Okay, Jeremy's saying, wait, that is what Art of Rock is for? You know, the Resort Owners Coalition out there lobbying for owners. No, they posted on their website for owners, we are lobbying in 14 states. There are 4 core issues. One of them is non-judicial foreclosure, a strong support for the consumer. But then at the Art of Rock conference at the Letterhead Note Minutes on 2019, he said to his peers, the answer is judicial foreclosure, enforce the contract, and ruin the credit. So there is, and then you had Howard Nussbaum, the former president of ARDA, who in a consumer affairs report made the statement, timeshare points have no resale value, but buyers don't mind that because they value the experience. And in the same article, he said, timeshare loans are not high interest. And this would say, and he would say they're the same as traditional loans. And I know if Kelly were here, she'd be going through the roof, Kim, because she has informed us that timeshare lending is exempt from almost all the timeshare laws.
No, they're exempt from all the mortgage laws. All the lending and mortgage lending laws, they are exempt 100%. They do not have to comply to the same lending laws that anyone else has to comply to. So,
yeah, and first of all, they're not underwritten, which is why you have usually 15 to 19.99%. And anybody can experience an adverse life effect, and where that you have no choice but to default, and the hardships maybe you can argue it, but it's not that easy. So
Well, the
let's
difference, think about this. If you had a hardship with your home mortgage, you could either borrow equity against it or because it gained value, or you can sell your home. It's it kept its value enough that generally you can sell your home and get out of it. A few people can foreclose maybe, and so you have so many options. But with timeshare, you have no options, and you can't get out of it even after you die. So I mean, it haunts
well,
you.
yeah, yes, you can. Any heir can disclaim an
Well, you can get
inheritance.
out of it, but you have to go to court and you have to file
No,
paper.
well, you just in the U.S. you just have to fill out a probate form to disclaim
Yeah, but
the
it still
inheritance.
follows you after death unless you file a probate. I mean, that's stupid.
Yes.
That's
And I don't
stupid.
think that's
Shouldn't
true
be
in
like
the rest of the world.
What's that, Susan?
I don't think it's true, as you say in the States. I discussed this with my husband. He says he doesn't think it's true in Canada. I don't
It
think,
might not be. Other countries have different laws.
yeah.
Well, there are
Well,
just new laws for Canada. You said in Ontario, Quebec, they find new regulations for timeshare. You were saying, so perhaps they take that into account also, how to get rid of it
There's
out of your life.
Yeah, there's liberal reasons for canceling. It's a service contract, much like a gym club.
Ah,
And yeah, as opposed now, after the Wyndham forced the sale of both resorts, I don't know if the Ontario laws changed, but we always kind of consider Canadians to be in a more consumer friendly country, but Ontario was worse than the United States when it came to getting out of a timeshare. Now, so Ruben, you'll keep us informed as to if one of these days you get a foreclosure letter.
Yeah, I will if I get it.
And then after our show, I'd appreciate a little bit of a discussion. I'll call you after the show to get some more help with our Hispanic person that's been scammed by this exit company. I want to thank you again for that. Norman, I want to, a lot of victims feel embarrassed, and whether it's rape, incest, or timeshare, but it's so important to share our stories and be able
Yes.
to come forward. And I just appreciate you speaking of that. And if there's anything you want to add about how you ended up in this situation over the years and how you're feeling about it, any closing comments?
Just that we have no option except to default at our age and our ability to earn money. We just have not $4,300 a month to devote to a timeshare that we're not using.
From Wyndham that prides themselves on exceptional customer service. And yet we've been on the phone, I think, for 3 or 4 hours, just getting bounced around from one person to the next. And it's extremely frustrating. Well, Kim, I want to thank you too for this opportunity. It's bringing people together in a way that's never been accomplished before. And it's a lot of work for me. I'm a mess every
Well, I
Monday.
know, and we need more help. I know that you need more help. It's so much involved. And, every time we bring in and speak with another victim, all I can think of is how do we get these laws changed? And we're just going to have to eventually find a little cube of time that we focus on that and find um, the right legal candidates to fix this, whoever they are. And I just want to thank everyone for their time and sharing their story. And Irene, you are my superhero. You not
Mine too.
You really
for
are.
for
absolutely.
fixing a problem of something that's as bad as being raped, to also just bringing awareness to the other problems and the butterfly effect it causes. It causes people to lose their jobs. It causes people to not be able to get a home or rent. So thank you everyone for your support. Unfortunately, we are out of time. And for timeshare victims, that's not a good thing, but we're still got you in our thoughts and work all week long, 24/7. Irene is doing this. Thank you, everyone, for watching us. And if you have a story, contact us. If you have a solution, contact us.
Thank you.
Thank you.